So I used to be in a band and I would write and record music a lot. Now, working out a song is not just about inspiration. It doesn't just pop into your head all the time. It's really hard work. So developing melody and a hook, forming lyrics that fit the feel of the music, recording dozens of instrumental and vocal tracks to make it sound just perfect. And then when you do that, you listen to it hundreds of times over and over and over to mix it and to get everything together sounding just right. But this thing would happen when I was working really hard on a song. I would start on a Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock, and I would be working and I would get in this zone. It was this weird sweet spot where everything was just clicking. And then when I looked up, it would be 2 o'clock in the morning. I would literally have spent 12 hours writing and recording a song without eating, without going to the bathroom, without talking to another soul. And it was awesome. Now, you probably know what I'm talking about because I bet that you've experienced the same thing. It's that place where you are working on something that matters, something that's important to you, something that you love, and you hit this moment where time seems to just stop. For you, maybe it could be woodworking or building or painting. Maybe it's writing or working out. It's still real work, but the reward for what you're doing, it's happening in real time while you are doing it. It's completely satisfying even before you're finished. Now, we've talked about how joy can be found in God's presence when we spend time with Him in prayer, reading His Word, just sitting silently and letting Him speak to us. But there is this sweet spot of joy that happens while we are actually working at something that is complete and satisfying. And Jesus tells us all about it in John chapter 15. And this is what Jesus says. He says in verse 9 through 11, I have loved you, even as the Father has loved me. Remain in my love. And when you obey my commandments, you remain in my love, just as I obey my Father's commandments and remain in his love. And check out this in verse 11. I've told you these things so that you will be filled with my joy. Yes, your joy will overflow. Jesus talks about a joy that completely and totally fills us. It's not just this joy that we get a little sip of, but it's a joy that's overflowing our cup, just spilling out and over. And we experience it when we stay close to Jesus in obedience. Joy is found in God's presence, right? We find it there when we remain in the love of Jesus. But joy is nurtured and developed when we are actually doing the work of following Jesus. Now, my wife and I have been married. We've been married for almost 23 years, and our status isn't going to change. We are married. But the quality of our marriage, the experience of our marriage, it will vary greatly depending on the effort that we each put into it. The effort we put into loving each other, caring for each other, and putting each other first. And I think that many Christians live joyless lives because they're satisfied with the status of their relationship with Jesus, the Christian title. You know, they say things like, I'm saved and I'm going to heaven someday, and that's enough. But the joy of a relationship with Jesus, it comes from following Him. It comes from walking close with Him in obedience and growing to be more like Him. When you determine to follow Jesus in action and not just in name only, you will begin to experience this overflowing sweet spot of joy. As you work out your faith, time slows and overwhelming joy is a byproduct. Psalm 119, 1 through 3, it puts it this way. It says that joyful are people of integrity who follow the instructions of the Lord. Joyful are those who obey His laws and search for Him with all of their hearts. They do not compromise with evil, and they walk only in His paths. You find joy when you follow the Lord. You find joy when you know His commands and cling to them. And you may not be experiencing much joy in your life because you really aren't doing much to follow, remain in, and obey Jesus. Joy comes from living the life that He has prescribed and following His steps. And perhaps you don't know His joy because you haven't said yes to Him in every area of your life. So today, what area of your life do you need to begin saying yes to Jesus in? And here's the thing, once you know that, say yes. Because when you say yes to Jesus, the result is overflowing joy.